Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message. Namaste and greetings. Are you ready to negotiate peace? Today we are talking about what it means to negotiate peace. How do we deal with and address conflict in an organization and a movement where people tend to avoid conflict like the plague? How do we dive into conflict? How do we reconcile and how do we transform by getting in there rather than by avoiding it? See, some things, the best way to heal it is to feel it. So, are we ready to negotiate peace, what it actually means? Not just as lip service, not just as an intellectual exercise, but to really do the work. To not only discover, but to implement powerful strategies for resolving conflicts in both our personal and our professional relationships, all of the ways that we show up in relationship with other human beings and the world. It is of, when I say of the world, it's also we are in conflict with nature. It's one of the reasons why so many things are going on with climate change and stuff, because we are operating out of balance with nature. But I digress. It is of great use to understand what is at the heart of any form of conflict, to know the consciousness that creates and perpetuates the various kinds of conflict, whether that is conflict of who's getting this parking space and which finger I use to say hello, or conflicts that are on a grander scale in terms of war. What is the consciousness behind all of it? One of the first and truly effective skill sets for us to learn in this negotiating piece is the skill of active and conscious listening, listening with empathy, as well as having assertive, not aggressive, but assertive communication. Together, this skill set can help transform any forms of conflicts, any disagreements into greater opportunities for us to transform, to heal, and to grow. To grow in understanding, to grow in collaboration, to grow in all of the ways that we are invited to grow to create a world that works for all. Exploring the art of compromise, which for some is a bad word, and the art of negotiation can also create harmonious and mutually beneficial solutions for the individual, for the collective, and for the planet. Breathe. What do you see on your screen? What comes to mind when you see this image? Someone playing chess, someone taking one of the chess pieces to knock over the other chess piece. What comes to mind? There are a variety of things that can come to mind. You see a game, a contest, a battle, a war. The pieces themselves are even named king, knight, bishop, pawn, etc. It is set up as a conflict, and yet it is a game that is played. Some for fun, some for competition. Competition in and of itself is a form of conflict. Two opposing forces, both seeking to win the game, to win the contest of tug of war, baseball, football, whatever it is. Conflict shows up in a great many ways, but not all conflicts are non-life affirming. So how do we address the types of conflicts that show up that are non-life affirming? What is our invitation in looking at the various ways that people get into conflicts about. People get in conflict about who should have what, who should go to the bathroom where, what books our children should be able to read. People get into conflicts about a great many things. Pause for a moment and think about what are some of the examples, or what are some examples of overt reasons that people get into conflict and covert, the obvious and the not so obvious reasons that people get into conflict. What turns an innocent baseball game, football game of two different teams, two different groups of fans simply enjoying the game to now, because their team is winning, I'm angry. So now I start fussing and cussing, and before too long, we're all in handcuffs. What caused something so innocent to become so overt as violence? What was the conflict? What was the consciousness that showed up as opposition to the degree that it became violence? Simply, just in general, conflict in the broadest sense, disagreement, a clash, a struggle between opposing forces or ideas or opposing interests. It can manifest in various ways, from personal arguments and disagreements to large-scale wars. Essentially, conflict signifies a situation where there is an opposition and or some form of incompatibility. Now breathe that word in for a second. Something is incompatible, because we're going to come to that in a moment when we start talking about this idea of reconciliation. Florence Scovel-Shinn invites us. There is a power in you that can overcome all obstacles. It will lift you out of confusion and enable you to see clearly what is before you. How does this help us to move through, to navigate through conflict, to finding that space of peace? If I were to ask you, speaking of peace, what does peace look like for you? In your individual life, what does peace look like, feel like, smell like, taste like? What is peace in your individual life? You yourself, regardless of anybody else yet, just you yourself. What does it mean for you to be at peace with you? Then expand it out. What does it mean for you to be at peace with those in your closest circle of family, closest circle of friends, extended family and friends, acquaintances, neighbors, city, state, country, planet? Starting with you, what does peace look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Then move your way outward. What does it look like? What would it mean for you if someone asked you peace as it relates to the entire planet? You get to choose based on your description of it. How would you describe this level of global peace? What does it mean? What does it look like? Because in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about, reconciliation and being compatible, it's like two opposing, there's conflict, there's peace. But for as long as they are separate and incompatible, there will be the friction. There will be the possibility of conflict escalating. But the moment we get into that space where they are able to reconcile, they come together, they find compatibility, then there is now a connection. There is a knot between the energies that gives greater possibility. And it's not getting rid of conflict. Remember, there is life-affirming conflict and non-life-affirming conflict. When these come together, what we are doing is recognizing the balance between conflict and peace, for them to work together in the energy of reconciliation. Reconciliation being the restoration of friendly relations. Compatibility, the action of making one view or belief compatible with another. Resolution, mending, resolving, an agreement, a reunion, and there's that word again, peace. What does it mean for us to really embody the energy of peacefulness as it relates to friendly relations, compatibility, even when there is conflict? How do I remain at peace and compatible while rooting for my football team and you root for yours, the Giants? I can see Tracy's face right now. How do we remain friendly and compatible and at peace, even in that conflict? We're playing chess, and you beat me. You win. Do I need to storm off and be mad? No, it's a game. And we are compatible in our relationship and our friendship. So, what does it mean for us to do that? Now, referencing Dr. King, he identified two different types of peace. He calls negative and positive. We can say life affirming and non life affirming. He distinguished between the non life affirming and the life affirming peace, offering a profound perspective on conflict resolution and societal change. Non life affirming peace refers to the mere absence of violence or conflict, a situation where tensions might be suppressed, but underlying issues remain unaddressed. Breathe. Think about times where you have witnessed that or experienced it. The overt taken care of, the covert still brewing. The grudge still festers, even though on the surface it's smiles and rainbows. But under the surface, this form of peace, non-life affirming peace, can be fragile, as it does not necessarily resolve the root cause of the discord or the injustice. It is a state where problems are temporarily quieted, but they are not resolved. In contrast to that, life affirming peace involves a deeper, more substantive, transformational type of relationship and societal structures. It is characterized by justice, equity, and the proactive promotion of well being for all individuals. And as we say in CSL, for all, a world that works for all. So, proactive promotion of well being for all humans, all of nature, all animals, the oceans, for all. How do we create proactive well being? Life affirming peace seeks to address the underlying cause, the consciousness of conflict, such as systemic injustices and social inequities. And it aims to build a foundation of equity and mutual respect. Life affirming peace often looks different from our traditional spiritual view of peace because it involves setting clear boundaries, something we recently spoke about, holding individuals and systems accountable, and driving meaningful change. This form of peace requires active engagement and action, addressing underlying issues and implementing solutions, which can initially feel challenging or confrontational, but which ultimately lead to deeper, more lasting harmony that isn't reliant on any individual group or oppression of or suppression of anyone or anything. So when we talk about peace, this is the kind of peace we're talking about. We're not talking about just, can we all just get along? Just, fake it till you make it. Just make it, just smile. I know you, just smile. No, let's address the issue. Let's not pretend. Is that not what many of the countries' leaders did, world leaders did, as Hitler was rising to power? They sat comfortably at peace because it's not affecting us. It's not affecting, we're good. Until, that underlying issue, that covert issue is now so overt, this can't be ignored anymore. And we all have to now get involved. So this is the kind of peace we are referring to as we continue this discussion. Jack Kornfield says forgiveness is giving up all hope of a better past. It is letting go and making the choice to find peace and understanding in the present moment, which is essential for resolving conflicts. The present moment, conflicts, the present moment. How do we let go of what was? Now we recognize it, but we don't hold it in a way that says what you should have done on Monday was, but it's Friday now. So what can we do now? How do we change? How do we address? How do we heal now? Part of that is forgiving. Remember the past, but do not bring the energy of it into your today in ways that are going to prevent the very healing. How do you negotiate? As it says, negotiation, a strategic discussion that resolves an issue in a way that both parties find acceptable. Compromise. How do you negotiate with yourself in terms of your memories, your trauma, your joy, your peace? How do you negotiate and say, this is where I am, this is what I feel? How am I negotiating and finding a space where my heart feels the pain of a wrong done to me, though my mind logically can say, treat and move your feet, let go, forgive. That's what Reverend Ray said on Sunday. But the heart is like, yeah, I can't let. How do we negotiate between head and heart and spirit and soul? How do we negotiate between all of the parts of ourselves so that we find that space that is acceptable, that moves us into greater harmony so that we can truly live our lives individually and collectively? There's a show that Tracy and I started watching. We have to go back to it, called Couples Therapy. And the woman that you see on your screen right now, and I specifically put her, the spelling and the pronunciation, Dr. Orna Goralnik, is a demonstration of active conscious listening. She demonstrates what this looks like and how she hears not only what's being said, but she hears what's not being said. How are we invited into a space of active listening so that it improves all of our relationships in general, including active listening skills with people who I may never see this person ever again. We both just happen to be at the same gas station at the same time, and they said something to me. Did I listen to them? Or am I just like, yeah, whatever. It's inside. I don't care. Or I didn't quite hear everything they said. Could you say that again? Oh yeah, the restroom. Yeah, if you go in and go all the way to the back, you'll see, where the drinks are and, water and all that. If you go to, it's hard to find, but if you go to the right and then make a left, you'll see it down this hole. They were asking for assistance. They got lost. Do you by any chance know where exit 19 is? Exit 19. Oh yeah. So what you want to do is after you drive out, go about 3 miles down, et cetera, et cetera. Active listening is how we connect versus someone talking to you and you're already thinking, oh man, I wish they would just stop talking. I got something I want to say. But you didn't hear anything that I said, or I didn't hear anything that you said because I'm not paying attention. I'm not demonstrating concern. I'm not establishing and building rapport. I'm not showing empathy. I'm not any of this. I'm not asking questions for clarification, nothing. Then what are we doing? What is the purpose of? So pause for a moment and think about in what way can you increase the muscles of your active listening? How you receive information actively. Side note, we do realize that we do not only listen with our ears, but we listen with our eyes. Even when we are not referring to the deaf community, we listen with our eyes because a great portion of communication occurs visually. We see facial expressions and body language, various cues that we give. Anyone who has studied or spoken about body language, as in people who work for the FBI and do profiling, they will tell you the importance of body language to such a degree that they will say things like, even when you are on the phone with someone who can't see you, you will still gesture. You will still do something visual because it's how your brain communicates with itself. So, active listening is a skill that we can improve, but we have to be able to identify, where am I weak? What aspect of this, if I want to be a mountain climber, I have to identify, yeah, I don't have any strength in my shoulders or in my forearms. Then I have to do specific exercise. Why am I doing, deadlifts? That's for my legs. My legs are strong. I need to build up my forearm strength and grip strength. I have to identify the space of weakness to then build strength. Do you know where you are weak as it applies to active listening? Dr. Holmes says, and you may remember this from, I believe it was last week, we should love ourselves so much that we cannot cause ourselves hurt, nor grief, nor sorrow, nor sadness, because all of these things are foreign to the spirit, and they do not belong to the reality of our being. As Spock says, it is only logical to remix this. So let's remix it. We should love ourselves so much that we cannot help but to be a beneficial presence in the world, because we understand and we embody the fullness of spirit and the reality of our being. And in so doing, we bring love, joy, empathy, active listening, wonder, belonging, compassion, laughter, and life affirming peace to the world. Since Spock started us off, we're going to stick with him for a little bit. Part of my nerd life, referencing this whole idea of Star Trek and Spock and live long and prosper, there's one aspect of Vulcan culture, which the symbol on his chest and the Vulcan script that's going down the screen, Kol Ut Shan, which translates as infinite diversity in infinite combinations. It's the Vulcan version of DEI. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, for us, what does this have to do with anything? If you think in terms of a human library or the human library, that's all of life. Now, there is a specific practice called the human library where people go places and they take out a person to listen to and converse with, to learn about them. What would it be like to have a conversation with someone who grew up during Hitler's Germany? Their parents were placed in a gas chamber, and this child is the only surviving member of their family. And you have an opportunity to have a conversation with them. What would you ask? What would you want to know? Have you ever sat down and had a conversation with someone who is the opposite gender that you are and asked them, what is it like? Yeah, someone of a different race or ethnicity, a different skin tone, a different religion, a different belief system. Have you ever had a conversation with a deaf person, a blind person, an amputee, a transgender person? And I don't mean just had a conversation. Well, Ray, there's this transgender woman that I work with. Yeah, we talk all the time. Do you talk about her life? Have you asked her, what would you like me to know? As a cisgender, straight, white woman, what would you want me to know so that I can be a better friend, a better colleague, a better human as it relates to you? Have you had those kinds of conversations with people? If not, this is the invitation. Because the only way we are going to get to a world that works for all is by connecting, building meaningful relationships. Now, that does not mean we have to like everyone, as Fred Rogers says. We'll get to that in a moment. It does not mean we have to like everyone, because we may not. And that's fine. But can I respect them? Can I love them as a divine incarnation of God? Even if they're not, well, we have very different interests. I love to go to the movies and see comedies. They love horror. I don't like horror. I'm not going to the movies with them. That's fine. Can we still be friends? Can we still eat at the same table and break bread together? As Fred Rogers says, when I say it's you I like, I get ready to break into song. My childhood memories get ready to kick in. He says, I'm talking about that part of you that knows that life is far more than anything you could ever see or hear or touch. That deep part of you that allows you to stand for those things without which humankind cannot survive. Love that conquers hate, peace that rises triumphant over war, and justice that proves more powerful than greed. So when I say it's you I like, it's that. In essence, he's saying it's the truth of you, not what you've been led to believe, not even what you convinced yourself to believe. I like the part of you that is the truest part, the purest part, the sacred part, the divine part, because that is the part that is actually you. When we get into true relationship, then that's what we're able to do. So even when we don't like somebody, it's the superficial things. I don't like that, but I like them because I like who and what they truly are, which is very different than the superficial. Breathe. Without inner peace, outer peace is impossible. We all wish for world peace, but world peace will never be achieved unless we first establish peace within our own minds, until our consciousness, until our mental equivalents are peaceful. We can send so-called peacekeeping forces into areas of conflict, but peace cannot be opposed from the outside with guns. Only by creating peace within our own mind, our own consciousness, and helping others to do the same relationship can we hope to achieve peace in this world. We can never obtain peace in the world if we neglect the inner world and we don't make peace with ourselves. World peace must develop out of inner peace. Without inner peace, it is impossible to achieve world peace, external peace. Weapons themselves do not act. They have not come out of the blue. Man has made them. But even given those weapons, those terrible weapons, they cannot act by themselves. As long as they are left alone in storage, they cannot do any harm. A human being must use them. Someone must push the button. Satan, the evil powers, cannot push the button. Human beings must do it. In what ways are we the very opposition to peace? Because of our own inner conflicts with someone or something, real or imagined. Just asking. Okay. Shalom Melchizedek says, the most empowering thing one can do is give themselves permission to fully love themselves. Often we experience relationships that are toxic, and we block ourselves off from love in all directions, including within. The most important thing to remember is your relationship your relationship with your being is crucial for yourself and for all other relationships. Do you love yourself enough to be an emissary of peace, no matter what? Now, for those of you who know me or have known me for any length of time, you know that at one point I studied Aikido, and the founder of Aikido, Morihei Ueshiba, said or emphasized the importance of peace through the teachings, through martial arts. He believed that Aikido was the art of peace, and that achieving inner peace was essential. Sounds familiar. Inner peace was essential for bringing peace in the world. He also stressed the importance of self-improvement and self-mastery as being foundational to world peace. How do we master ourselves to the degree that we point the way and lead others in how to do the same for themselves? Because I can't force someone to be peaceful. I can't force someone. I could force someone to put a gun down, but it's not changing the consciousness that made them want to pick the gun up in the first place. How do I master myself to such a degree that when I now connect with this other person, something in them shifts, that we've negotiated, we are compatible, they now understand in a different way, and now inner peace in them is moving to such a degree that they now turn their swords into plowshares. O Sensei says, Aiki is not a technique to fight with or to defeat the enemy. It is a way to reconcile the world and make human beings one family. The art of peace is the principle of non-resistance, because it is non-resistant It is victorious from the beginning. Now, I know as you look at these pictures and see people getting tossed around, you may be thinking, how is that peaceful? We'll get to that in a second. He goes on to say, those with evil intentions or contentious thoughts are instantly vanquished. The art of peace is invincible because it contends with nothing. Now, you say, what now? So the idea is Aikido gives you the opportunity to take the aggression that someone is moving towards you, blend with it, negotiating the energy, and then move the person in ways where you are controlling them because you are the eye of the hurricane and you have the choice of how you bring them to a space of being still versus someone throws a punch, you throw a punch. They throw another punch, you throw another punch. We're pummeling each other in the head like rock'em sock'em robots, waiting for somebody to hit and the head to pop off. Now we're both bloody and puff eyes, and okay, because we're looking to win. I need to beat you up. Versus Aikido says, I don't want to beat you up. I want to you take your energy and make it so not only that you can't hurt me, but you can't even hurt yourself. So I guide you down and now stop. How do we do that in conflict? That when someone insult, how do we use the Aikido of emotions, the Aikido of intellect? And rather than letting, ow, did you just, you hit me, that hurt. You hit a button. Oh, you called me stupid. It's, oh, insult. Oh, yeah, that's that. As he said, the words that have evil intentions, those contentious thoughts of insult and oppression and slurs, all of that, it's instantly vanquished as a methodology of peacefulness. Breathe and take that in. So I am of a certain age where I grew up and I'm quite aware of who George Carlin is. So I'm warning you in advance in case you are not familiar with George Carlin's mouth and the way that he expresses ideas. He's expressing something that is so clear cut, referencing the idea of using violence as an agent of or tool of peace. Are you ready? If not, close your eyes, turn away for a moment. You've had your chance. George says, fighting for peace is like screwing for virginity. Yeah, breathe that in. I'm not even going, you breathe that one in. And moving on. Several people have referenced ideas of peace. Mother Teresa, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Dr. King, peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. Albert Einstein, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. Jimi Hendrix, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Breathe. Once again, referencing this idea of inner and outer peace. Our own ability to connect with inner peace profoundly influences our external reality. Internal conflicts, such as unresolved emotions, personal turmoil, often manifest in our external interactions and relationships through our own unconscious habits, biases, behaviors, patterns, and ways of engaging with others, which leads to discord and misunderstandings. Conversely, cultivating inner peace can transform how we handle all of these things, all of the conflicts, internal and external, fostering greater harmony and constructive life-affirming communication in our relationships, in our communities, and in the world. Yes, today is a nerd day. We had Spock, now we got Yoda. Judge me by my size, do you as well? You should not. Why, what? Simply because this says fostering small scale peace in our daily lives, blah, blah, blah. Size doesn't matter. Fostering peace in our daily lives through practices like mindfulness, self-awareness, empathic communication, can, and in many times does, ripple outward, impacting larger societal and global issues. When we address internal conflicts and nurture a sense of calm and understanding within ourselves, we create a foundation for peaceful interactions with others. This localized peace can then inspire and influence those around us, contributing to the broader cultural shift towards global harmony, cooperation, and a world that works for all. How, in the midst of a busy life, how, in the midst of all the stuff that's going on in the world, how do you foster peacefulness in your life? What is your method? Are you invited to upgrade it? Or is it working fine for you? How easy is it for the current presidential administration to unsettle you? And if they knock you off balance, how quickly do you regain balance? Because it's not about never losing our balance. That happens. It's not about never dropping something. No, it's about how resilient are we, and how quickly we restore ourselves, how quickly we re-regulate ourselves back to that space of peacefulness and harmony. What do we do when triggered? As we have down through the ages, developed many means to attempt to heal, mend, and atone for our actions. Yet, while our spiritual paths have assisted us, our aspirations to be better human beings may have inadvertently hindered us. To be good people, we tend to bypass the messiness of our lives in order to enter the gate of tranquility. Remember what Dr. King said about negative and positive peace? Can the gate of tranquility really be as we imagine it? No matter which way we approach peace, it seems we must cross the burning threshold of human conditioning to enter it. So before we leap to the universal, the true essence or spirit, why not start where we are as human beings? We must carve a path through the flames of our human condition. We must see it for what it is and bow to it. Not a pitiful bow, but a bow of acknowledgement. By acknowledging our human condition, we acknowledge that we might not know how to end hatred and that we are not superheroes. We are human beings. But all change and transformation begins first by the acknowledgement. We cannot find peace by avoiding life. We cannot find peace by avoiding life. Jesus was asked, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is, love your neighbor as yourself." Love your neighbor as yourself. Do you love yourself? To what degree do you love yourself? Because the love you have of and for yourself should reflect. If you love God, then you love you. If you love God, then you love them. If you love God, then you love the other. If you love God. If God is all there is, then you love all of what you claim to love as God, including you. Do you love yourself with that degree of reverence and honor? If not, this is your invitation. If so, keep doing it till it ripples out. The Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 offers us a means and a method to reconcile and attune ourselves to the truth of our being. A truth that declares when I know who and what I am and what I am capable of as an incarnation of God, and that this is true for everyone, then I and we can collectively transform and heal the world, thereby creating peace on earth and goodwill to all. Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 grants us the ability to embody the art of peace with such creative authority that our presence in a room, in a building, or in a city ripples out with the irresistible cosmic power of love. We are the way showers of love, health, forgiveness, and reconciliation the world over. Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I'll say it first, and if it resonates with you, say it with me the second time. With empathy, active listening, and open communication, I move through conflicts and move toward lasting, healing peace. Together. With empathy, active listening, and open communication, I move through conflicts and move toward lasting, healing peace. And so it is. This week's journal questions or Thursday night study questions. Number 1, what types of conflicts have I found myself in? How were they resolved? And if they weren't, what was the reason? How do I foster both inner and outer peace in my daily life? How might the collective consciousness be shifted regarding weaponry and war as a peacekeeping tool? What or who do I still refuse or I have difficulty forgiving? Number 5, as Shalom Melchizedek said, the most empowering thing I can do is give myself permission to fully love myself. So, how do I love myself? And lastly, in what ways can I improve my ability to actively listen and communicate with compassion and empathy? Breathe. So we enter into that space of the infinite knowing, knowing that this life-affirming peace, this ability to reconcile conflict, to reconcile all of the discord and disharmonies in the world, exists right here, right now, within my mind. There is only one mind, and that mind is God. So my mind is that mind, which means within that mind, the answer, the solution, the resolution must already exist. War was created by the mind of man. Discord of oppression, whether it's segregation or genocide, are all created by the mind of mankind. Which means the resolution for all of these, the healing for all of these, the cure for all of these are also in the human mind. Because there is no human mind that is separate from God mind. So I anchor and ground right now, knowing that this idea of negotiating peace, the idea of reconciliation, harmony, joy, all of these things exist right now in my life. And as I speak of my life, it is a reflection that this truth is the whole truth and nothing but the truth for everyone. It's not just true for me, it's true for everyone. Right now, there is only one mind, and that mind is God. So each person, plant, rock, and tree is actively engaged within and as the one mind right now. So I speak this knowing that because the law acts upon our mental equivalents, I know that right now we are doing whatever it is we need to do individually and collectively to heal our individual lives and the collective consciousness and the planet itself. We are doing whatever needs to be doing, changing paradigms and shifting consciousness and using alchemy to heal, to transform, and to manifest truly life-affirming peace and harmony that only exists in a world that works for all. Knowing that it is already done and now is simply the time to do it, to live it. I stand back and marvel at the magnificent way that I and all do precisely that. For we are the way showers, those who hold the prophetic vision and action that create peace on earth, goodwill to all, right here and right now. And so it is. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love and appreciation. We're approaching June, which means I will be starting up with more classes and stuff soon. So stay tuned for announcements, unless they've already been sent, which they may have been, of what books and stuff we're starting on Wednesday nights, other classes and things that are coming. Stay tuned. Other than that, I will see you soon. Blessings.